We're going to be talking autonomous tillage and tractors.
Biggest thing for a lot of customers to understand if they're interested in autonomy is what does it do and what is it? I think the first thing is
who's the right fit for this today?
Some people think, oh, it's for the really big farmer. Well, not necessarily. It really comes down to.
Good afternoon and welcome to the 2025 Agro Expo event. My name's Travis Kiesel. Welcome to the Hutson booth. Really fortunate this afternoon to have Kayla Taylor and Michael Porter with us from John Deere. We're going to be talking autonomous tillage and tractors this afternoon. And so obviously exciting portion of our business. Excited to have this on the ground here in Michigan for this fall. Kayla, Michael, welcome.
Thanks.
Happy to be here.
Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, I can go first. So like Travis said, Kayla Taylor, I'm product and systems specialist covering Michigan, Indiana, and Ohio. So really within my job responsibilities, I work a lot with the emerging technology. So helping the dealers that I cover both sale and support kind of things that are coming down the pipeline, including autonomy, of course.
Yeah, so I'm Michael Porter, obviously go-to-market manager for large tractors, tillage, and autonomy goes along with that. So I work around kind of the US and Canada with kind of our strategy for launching new products on the tractor and the tillage side, as well as the technology. And I get to work with Kayla and a lot of her counterparts around the US on how to get this on more farms.
No, that's great. That's great. I appreciate you both being here and thank you for taking time to chat with us. So several pieces of tillage, several tractors on display here. Maybe talk a little bit about what's on display here at Agro Expo.
Yeah, so we have a couple of units on site here at the Agro Expo show. So we have an autonomous 8RX standing alone today. Usually it's pulling a VT that's autonomous, but we of course don't have that unit here. So it's fully capable of doing autonomy. And then we also have a 9R 540 here as well with the high-speed disc that came out last spring. And equipping those together to be autonomy, and it's going to run this fall. So we're excited to showcase it on both our 9Rs and our 8Rs and those product families today.
No, that's perfect. Exciting to see the 9R. Obviously, it's a local customer's rig, and so with the high-speed disc, and so excited to see that running here locally. So we'll talk a little bit about autonomous and the fact of taking the operator out of that cab. What are the crop conditions that this can run in? Talk about that tech. What's it look like today?
Yeah, so I think the biggest thing for a lot of customers to understand if they're interested in autonomy is what does it do and what is it? And I think the first thing is there's nothing about this camera system that's actually deciding or steering the machine. It's using the base technology that we've always had. So if you think about our G5 Advanced, things like AutoTrack, I think a lot of customers are familiar, AutoPath, which kind of takes another step on that, AutoTrack turn automation, TrueSet, technologies like that. That's really the foundation of it. And then the camera system is really just replacing you and I in the cab with our eyes. And your point though is certain crop conditions. So what we're doing is we load, we have these machines go out in the field and just run thousands and thousands of acres collecting imagery of what a cornfield looks like, what a soybean field looks like. And so today we say it's corn and soy or tilled ground. So, maybe if you have wheat stubble and you've already maybe ripped that up or you've maybe taken a first pass across it, something like that. But really those are the kind of the production system, if you will, is the corn and soy. And then there's obviously places where maybe it works better with obviously wider, bigger open areas, but it can still run on a lot smaller fields. But then it kind of comes down to how long is that machine actually going to operate before it finishes a field, right? How much value can you really unlock by going and doing something else?
Sure. What, Kayla, I know one of the questions that has came up here at the show is about buffer. How much buffer zone do I need? How close can folks get to this tech? Can you talk a little bit about how that works?
Yeah, absolutely. So when we think of buffers, I would say a couple things come to mind that we need to consider with the tractor. First would be headlands. So really making sure that we're setting up our field appropriately to set it up for success. So we typically recommend 3 to 4 passes, depending on the tool width, about 115 to 120 feet. The purpose of that is to keep it away from maybe vehicles that are driving by, things like that, to make sure that we're optimizing the system. The machine will try to do the headlands and is often very successful, Again, when we're getting closer to passing cars, people walking by, things like that, safety is the top priority. So it will stop and allow the operator to kind of come back and make sure the area is clear and take it away. So that's kind of just a consideration with headlands. Again, it will certainly build that into the algorithm that it's running and the path planning, but that's something to be considerate of. From the other thing I would say with buffers is really, what are those cameras looking at? So those cameras are kind of evaluating, and it depends on the tractor speed, how fast you're going, kind of what you have your max speed set to, and a lot of different things that the engineers are doing behind the scenes, I'm sure. But really between 50 and 75 feet is where you can say, if we're beyond that 75 feet, you're probably out of those cameras' views and the decision-making points.
Okay, all right. No, it's good to know. Again, that's it seems like one of the things that has come up. When you think about this tech, and you may think of a right or wrong customer, who's the right fit for this today? Who does this technology fit?
Yeah, that's a great question. I'd say there's no one answer to that, right? So there's, some people think, oh, it's for the really big farmer. Well, not necessarily. It really comes down to, do you need help on your farm, right? Labor. Is there something else you'd rather be spending your time on? And then some of the stuff we talked about with conditions and fields, right? So I'd say in general, it's a corn and soy farmer that's probably doing some sort of spring tillage pass with maybe a field cultivator or a high-speed disc, and then maybe something in the fall, either, like a coulter chisel plow, or maybe another disc. And they can utilize it usually 2 seasons of the year is typically what we see. And then really what they're looking at is, hey, I need help at certain times of the year. Right? I can't deal with what I have today. Maybe going and hiring someone isn't an option, or maybe you have so much to do for the people you have, you just need to free up time for them to go haul grain, run a combine, or go see your kid's football game on Friday night, right? Like there's a lot of different ways. And then I'd say it's what we're typically seeing is the people who've kind of been on this journey with us on our kind of our tech stack, we like to call it, right? Earlier I talked about AutoTrack, and then they moved on to maybe AutoPath or AutoTrack turn automation, and they've been using Ops Center. And a lot of those customers have been running ATTA and all these things, and they've been going, why am I in here, right? I'm in here, it's doing all the turns, it's picking up and lowering the planter or the tillage tool. And now we've kind of finally got them comfortable with, okay, I know the machine's going to do the field the way I want it to, and I understand that. And now the cameras just take over the safety portion of it.
I think the beauty of our system, to add on to that, is at the end of the day, is your normal 8R, 8RX, 9R, 9RX tractor. So the way I like to think about it and talk about it with dealers and customers is it's a tool in your toolbox, but it's not replacing what you're already using today. So if you want to run it at night but do manual tillage during the day, that's an option. So it just gives you more flexibility and a lot of different ways that you can think about incorporating it into an operation.
And also getting more utilization out of those. Yep. Again, if maybe you do have that 8R tractor that you use for a planting tractor in the spring, and in the fall, maybe it sits around a lot and you have the opportunity to go put an autonomous camera system on it and let that thing go knock out some acres so that when you're done combining, maybe it's just, there's 25% less acres that you got to go over in the fall.
Sure. Each of you have a lot of experience with this technology over time. Obviously, one of the things that we talk a lot about with customers is the pay as you go, the pay for what you need concept, right? The SaaS concept business model. And so, can you talk a little bit about how this technology has gotten better over the short time that it has been in customers' hands?
Yeah, I can start, I guess. So I'd say in general, we started with, number one, a completely different camera system when we first launched it. I think a lot of people saw it maybe at CES quite a few years ago. It had the weight bracket with a camera out front, right? Well, we realized that wasn't going to work when it comes to dust and all these things. We need to elevate the cameras, right? So we moved to a system that's mounted really in the roof line, built it into the machine, so it's not so, number one, obvious, it's not in the way, things like that. But I'd say, early on, yeah, it probably couldn't do, the whole field. It really struggled with maybe waterways or routing around trees. And since then, we've got, number one, that it's gotten better at recognizing obstacles and all that. But then we've also been able to integrate new features like route around. So again, I come up to maybe a big rock in the field. Very previously, you had to come all the way back out there, drive it around that rock, restart it, and away you go. Well, now we have the option right from your phone using Operations Center Mobile to have it route around. So every season, when we think about season, spring and fall, we get a group of people and farmers who are running this, and then we are really intently focused on what works, what doesn't work for you, and what do we need to start addressing. Simple things like birds. It used to cause the system to stop and cause the operator to come out. Well, now we've figured out that, okay, these birds, they'll move before it gets there, and the system is smart enough to start to figure out how to work with those obstacles. So it continues to get better. Again, I'm sure Kayla's had a lot of field experience with it where early on, maybe it was rough to show, some of the value where you're maybe constantly having to go back out to it. Or today I'd say we see the time between what we call like interventions or having to go to that machine really, really moving apart. And we're adding features to make it act more and more like you are in the machine.
Sure.
Yeah. This fall will be my 4th kind of tillage season, if you will, 2nd year being out here in the field, hands-on with the machine. And I can tell you, transparently, last spring, like Michael said, was a little bit rougher on the field team side and the customer and the dealer side as well. It was the first time really in the field with customers. We had a lot of room for improvement then. So we were a lot more hands-on with the machine, both from the dealer perspective, the customer. It was a lot more monitoring. Doing the manual route around and a lot of the stuff he talked about. I was with one yesterday, never got out of the truck, completed the whole field. So it's just really awesome to kind of see even new features that we bring, but even quality improvements as well in terms of the vision system and honestly just being able to remove yourself from the field and not have to think about it and really not even get notified because the machine's just doing what it should be doing.
Sure. No, it's great examples. We talk about this tech being a journey a lot of times for customers. What do they need to do to prepare? What does a customer, what are the steps that they need to be taken today on their journey towards this?
Yeah, so there's a lot of different things we could dive into, and we're constantly working on what is those steps. I think some of the biggest ones is getting experience with Operations Center. We probably haven't hit on it enough, but this whole thing runs on your cell phone using Operations Center Mobile. So if a customer isn't familiar with how that works, it's going to be tough for them to even figure out how to interact with it, right? So there's some really basic stuff like using Operations Center Mobile. I talked earlier about like AutoPath and ATTA. I'm not saying you have to be the world's greatest user of those, but those help you understand how the machine may react, right? And so those things really help. I'd say the biggest one, for customers that we say, hey, let's go do this, is autonomy capable boundaries. So mapping your field boundaries with a really high level of accuracy so that machine knows this is the field that I'm working in is obviously something we have to have before the machine can even start running. So that's another big one. And then we can't overlook the equipment side. We're not compatible with every single tractor and every single tillage tool out there. What is really nice about the system is it's a retrofit first mentality of we're not installing this at the factory today. It's retrofitting to older tractors. So we go back to 20 and a half and newer 8Rs and 22 and newer 9Rs. So if you think kind of that newer cab design, and we upgrade them with, G5 plus display, new Starfire 7500, implement Ethernet, so all that hardware side. The good news is even if a customer doesn't have those, our kit does include them. And then obviously on the tillage side, we've got field cultivators today, we've got high-speed disc, we've got VTs, chisel plows. Kayla's probably going to remind me of one that I've forgotten, but I think I've hit the major ones. And so today, that's not everyone. So we're working to make it more open to, adding functionality with different tools and stuff like that. But those are all, that's not a small part of it, is to make sure they have a compatible equipment as well.
Sure. No, that's good. Where can a producer go to learn more? Where's the place to learn more about all this?
First is their dealers, right? So Hutson, obviously, you guys have a lot of experience with it. And so starting with your dealer is always a great spot to figure out, they obviously know the customer's operation and what's needed. But if not that, we do have, if you go to Deere.com, we have a whole page dedicated to autonomy. We have things like a checklist for exactly what we talked about. Are you prepared? Do you have the right hardware and stuff like that? So we're constantly working on getting people to understand kind of where they're at on that journey. But always best to start with the local dealer because you guys obviously are their go-between expert for all things new tech.
Sure. No, that's great. Kayla, Michael, really appreciate the time today to talk autonomy, and really excited to see what the future holds with Hutson John Deere and autonomous solutions.
Yeah, we are too.
Yeah. Thanks for having us.
Thank you.